Ebenezer Scrooge sat immobile in his great throne-like chair, a monolith of dark-carved oak that seemed to absorb the weak light of the room, his gnarled fingers steepled in front of his chest. Before him, a bulky cathode-ray tube television emitted the only illumination, the ceaseless, shifting dance of snowy static. He watched the frantic gray-white particles with a concentrated straight face, the faint papery hiss of the noise filling the chamber at a reasonable, almost meditative volume. It was a cathedral of indifference, and he was its high priest. Without a whisper of warning, a black shape descended from the shadowed ceiling, a bat-like silhouette that resolved into the grim, armored form of Batman. He landed in a crouch, cape settling around him like a storm cloud. The television's light glinted off the emblem on his chest and the white lenses of his cowl. "Scrooge!" His voice grated, a sound of gravel and Gotham alleyways. "Your exploitation ends tonight. The suffering of the Cratchit family is a ledger entry I am here to permanently erase." Scrooge did not turn. His eyes, hard and determined, remained fixed on the swirling screen. His right hand, moving with deliberate, languid slowness, found the large plastic knob on the television's side. With a soft, definitive click, he turned the volume up. The static's hiss swelled into a rasping, granular whisper, like a million grains of sand scouring a sheet of tin, filling the space between them. Batman took a step forward, his boots silent on the priceless rug. "I know every hidden account, every withheld shilling. I've seen the cold of their home, the fragility of their child." His tone was a promise of relentless justice. "You think your wealth insulates you? It only makes you a larger target." Again Scrooge's hand moved. The knob turned another notch. The static erupted into a crackling, vehement rush, a waterfall of fractured noise. It was no longer mere background. It was a brittle, electric tapestry of sound, popping and spitting with increased urgency, drowning out the room's ambient silence. "You are a cancer on this city's soul," Batman growled, his patience thinning. He reached to his utility belt, a gesture of impending action. "I've broken tougher men than a miser hiding in a dusty tomb. You will provide for them, or you will answer to me." Scrooge's expression did not alter, not a twitch of a nerve, not a flicker in his stony gaze. His fingers rotated the knob further. The sound transformed into a deafening, searing blast of white noise. It was a caustic, shrieking torrent that vibrated the air, making the dust on the lampshades tremble. The individual pops coalesced into a continuous, roaring wall of pure sonic agitation. Batman raised his voice, a sharp knife trying to cut through the din. "This is your final warning. Your greed has consequences." He took another purposeful stride, his cape billowing. "I will dismantle your empire, brick by brick, until there's nothing left but the cold you so cherish." The knob turned with a heavy, mechanical finality. The static became all-consuming, a physical, punishing force. It was a tsunami of dissonance, a shattering, metallic holocaust of sound that seemed to warp the very air. The picture tube itself roared with intensity, the frantic snowflakes now resembling a blizzard in hell. The sound hammered at Batman's armored form. "You cannot ignore this," Batman roared, the strain evident as he fought to be heard. He braced himself as if against a gale. "I am vengeance. I am the night. I will not be silenced by a fool's static." He reached to his utility belt, a gesture of impending action. Scrooge, for the first time, moved something other than his hand, a slight, almost imperceptible tilt of his head, not towards the dark night, but as if to better engage with the glorious noise from his screen. His thumb and forefinger gave the volume knob its most minute, yet most potent adjustment. The resulting sound was apocalyptic. It was an ear-bleeding, dimensional roar, a primeval scream of the universe channeled through 12 inches of curved glass. It was no longer a sound one heard, but a force one was dissolved within. The skull-rending, cosmic shriek vibrated the floorboards, shook the books in their cases, and made the window panes buckle in their frames. Batman staggered back, his hands flying to the sides of his cowl. His formidable will was a small sail in this hurricane of noise. What? His voice was a swallowed fragment, lost instantly. The omnipotent, grinding static was in his bones, in his teeth, in the very core of his being. Scrooge watched the screen, a faint, placid curve finally touching his thin lips. He was a statue of contentment amidst the auditory cacophony, the world-obliterating cacophony that would have liquefied another man's mind was to him a symphony of perfect private static. He was invincible, and this was his proof. Batman's form began to waver, not as a man stumbles, but as a mirage dissolves in heat. The devouring atomic hum of the static was unpicking him. The sharp edges of his cape and cowl began to fuzz and bleed into the vibrating air. He was a drawing being erased by a furious, sound-based solvent. "No!" The word was silent, a shape his mouth made before it too began to stream away. The iconic silhouette softened, melted, and then started to particulate, dark flecks of his essence joining the frantic dance of snow on the screen before him. The deafening, annihilating roar accepted him, digested him. First the cape dissolved into a cloud of shadowy motes, then the armor frayed at the edges, streaming into the noise like smoke into a gale. The white lenses of the cowl were the last to go, 2 points of light that widened in silent, futile understanding before they were extinguished, absorbed into the absolute, triumphant static. Batman was gone, not with a bang, but with the infinite, all-capable whisper of television static. And then there was only the noise, the colossal, ringing, all-encompassing shriek of the void. It filled every atom of the study, a sound so profound it was beyond loudness. It was simply the new state of being in the room. With emotion so calm it was obscene, Ebenezer Scrooge turned the volume knob back down. Click, click, click. The cataclysmic roar receded to a blustering howl, then a crackling surge, then a rasping whisper, and finally back to that original, reasonable, papery hiss. The snowy static continued its endless, peaceful dance. Scrooge settled back into his throne, his straight face restored, his concentration once more absolute on the screen. The room was exactly as it had been. The dusty ledgers, the single weak lamp, the chair, the man, the television. There was no sign that vengeance had ever visited this place, save for a single tiny bat-shaped crack in the far corner of the ceiling plaster, already beginning to gather a delicate skein of cobweb in the deep, satisfying silence.